Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 2 of the Monday Q&As. So let's knock this out. First question. What ways do you keep records of your gym sessions on paper or electronically? I know many people have years worth of training logs to review how they've progressed, and do you use something similar as well, or just guesstimate over time? I don't log any of this. I used to years ago. I quit a long time ago. I keep mental notes. I track my progress over time, and the thing is, different people have different views on this. There are people who use spreadsheets for this and analyze it closely, and there are people who don't ever write anything down. And you know what? There are people who have set powerlifting world records using both methods. There are people who have won gold medals in the Olympics using both methods. There isn't a right or a wrong way to go about this. You need to go with what works for you on that. There are some coaches who don't feel the need to track it that closely, and there are other coaches who want to see it analyzed. And the thing is, there isn't a right or wrong way there. So don't get caught up in that idea that you have to do it one way or another. I prefer not to really track. I really don't. I just keep mental notes of my progress over time and kind of know where I'm at and what I'm doing. So that's what I use personally. And again, either method can work. It just depends on what's going to work best for you as an individual or what your coach wants you to do. All right, next question. I've seen some people roll the bar prior to a deadlift as part of their setup. What is the purpose of this, and do you recommend it? Yeah, I don't always recommend that people just pull regularly. I recommend some sort of reset on each rep. And what I would like to see for most people, either do like a hip drop like I do or a bar roll. Either one of those are very, very good for getting yourself tight, pulling the slack out of the bar, and getting that mental cue to pull backwards instead of up so that you can drive through the heels out of the bottom. So it's just a mental cue because, again, you pull back, you're rolling the bar, you're already in the motion of pulling back, and you're just continuing that motion. So it's a fantastic mental cue, just like the hip drop that you guys see me do on the deadlift. Both methods are successful for this. It just depends on the needs of the individual or their individual preferences, maybe their biomechanics. I don't know if this has ever been determined why one might work better for the other for someone. But both of these methods are very successful. In the bar roll, there are people who are phenomenal deadlifts who utilize that for the mental cue that it gives. There are people out there who deadlift 800 plus pounds who do this. So give it a try. And again, it's a good way to pull the slack out of the bar and get into that motion of pulling backwards instead of straight up. So if you want to give it a try, give it a try. I do recommend it. Next question. Can you do cardio during a deload week? Are you supposed to do deloads while cutting? How often should you deload? You went into deloads on your channel, but you never gave these additional details. Thanks. How often you should deload, that's topics of entire videos, which I've done in the past. I don't want to get into all that. But as far as should you deload when cutting? Generally not, unless you're on a program that requires it. What I would like to see for most people who are cutting, don't push yourself so hard that you are overreaching and need a deload. You've probably pushed a little too hard if you're having to deload on a cut, but if you're starting to see signs like connective tissue inflammation, sore joints when cutting, then you probably need a deload anyways. Now, as far as doing cardio on it, yeah, people should be doing cardio year-round anyways for their overall health and fitness, their conditioning. So you should go ahead and do cardio on your deload weeks also, but maybe you could, just like with your weight training, scale it back. You could scale your cardio back a little bit. But there's certainly no reason to discontinue your cardio on your deload weeks. All right, next question. Opinion on early youth training. I have my sons aged 7 and 8 doing bodyweight movements like push-ups and pull-ups along with broomsticks, squats instead of a bar. I don't have them do isolation exercises, just compounds. All right, they're probably not going to benefit a lot from this, but you know what? It's good physical activity. It's not like you're doing weight-bearing exercises for them. It's just body weight. If they enjoy it and they're using good form to where they're not going to get hurt, I don't see an issue with it. Have them continue. But if they don't really seem to enjoy it, don't try to force them to do it because you're going to enforce a negative stereotype. Most kids will do better if they just play and do sports because they're more enjoyable and fun, and it trains them from a young age to enjoy physical activity. So just keep that in mind. If your boys seem to enjoy it, then go for it. But if they really don't seem to like it, again, I wouldn't push that upon them because they're going to see physical activity and exercise. You might imprint on them early on that it's something that they don't enjoy and that they were forced to do, and it's going to seem like work rather than something that they'll continue for a lifetime. So that's the way I would look at it personally. All right, next question. Hey Jason, is it okay to drink while during deloads, or is it the worst time since you're allowing your body a chance to heal and catch up to your overreaching? It's just like with anything else, moderation. I mean, I drink when I've been cutting. I've been cutting successfully, and I drink. The thing is, you need to keep up with your calories. Just like when you're doing anything else, alcohol is just calories. Until you reach a point where you're consuming enough alcohol that it's having a really negative effect on your body, it's overloading your liver, then it's not impeding your recovery at all. Alcohol is still calories, it's still energy, it's just fuel like anything else. That's kind of like saying, should I not be consuming carbs when I'm cutting because it might affect recovery? No, it's energy, but just like anything else, too much of any energy source can definitely stop your cutting. But as long as you're in a caloric deficit and you're not drinking so excessively that it's putting a massive strain on your body, then it's perfectly fine. You shouldn't have any issues with it. It's just about finding balance in your life. All right, next question. All right, I totally messed that one up. I'm just going to keep what I put in there because it's good information anyways, but even the same on the deload. Okay, deload even better. You need to be eating a decent amount of calories to be recovering. Alcohol is still calories. It's still useful for energy. In fact, it's a very good energy source. There's subject to debate as to whether alcohol is an amazing pre-workout or not. There's some data that suggests that it may be, as long as you're not training intoxicated. And again, going back to the recovery issue, as long as you're not drinking so much that you're putting a strain on your liver, then again, it's not going to affect your deload at all. Go for it. It's just food at the end of the day. All right, next question. Any way to specifically make the lats wider, or do they just hypertrophy all around regardless? I hear different schools of thought on this, but I'm hesitant to believe a muscle can be trained to grow wider or thicker as opposed to growing all around in general. Like anything else, there's emphasis there, but with a large muscle like the lats, to where, again, one end of it is really just stuck at a single insertion point up high, this idea that you can make the lats wider or thicker specifically isn't really true. You can to a tiny, tiny degree, but it's almost too small to tell the difference, so it's nonsense. Now, that extra thickness that people see is people who are building up all those smaller support muscles, people who are building up the middle and lower traps from doing exercises at work. Those can give that illusion of a thicker back. Well, it's not an illusion. It really does make your back thicker in addition to the size your lats get. But the lats themselves, no, they're going to get wide and thick at the same time, irrespective of how you're training them, as long as you're inducing hypertrophy. So it's a bit of nonsense and myth there. So I wouldn't worry about it to a large extent. Just train your lats. And again, if you want a thicker back, put some extra focus on the thoracic region and the thoracic erectors, the lower and middle traps. That's what will give you that extra thickness that people may be talking about. All right, next question. For people who suffer from obesity, are diet plans like paleo or low carb, high fat great for fat loss and weight coupled with a workout plan? Yeah, they are, and it's because, again, it's about energy balance. People who are obese need to be in a caloric deficit. These sort of meal plans tend to suppress appetite, therefore you eat less calories. Any type of diet that's going to give you higher satiation foods, it's going to fill you up and cause you to eat less total calories, combined with exercise, is going to be very useful for weight loss, irrespective of what type of diet it is or what they call it or what sort of restrictions it throws in. It's still about energy balance. All of these sort of diets can be useful for that, but you need to understand the mechanism by which they work, that it is through creating a caloric deficit. It's still about energy turnover. And yeah, a lot of people have looked at these diets specifically for that reason. As you guys know, I've been cutting using a low-carb diet, but I still know that it's about calories in, calories out. I just find it very easy to control my calories more and have better diet adherence when I do that. And the same would apply to obese people. In fact, for them, though, any sort of diet like that that gets them eating less calories and gets them up exercising, their weight loss will usually be pretty rapid. All right, next question and last question of the week. I'm going to try to answer this one seriously, even though it's clearly a trolling question. I was recently prescribed Trenbolone Acetate by my doctor. Will this burn fat from my belly? Dose is 100 milligrams per day. Okay, first of all, there is no such thing as human-grade Trenbolone Acetate. There's no place it's prescribed by doctors for humans anywhere that I'm aware of. It's generally only used in cattle and in rodents in research. So I know you're not being prescribed this. 100 milligrams a day, if it's legitimately that much, that's a lot. Yes, will that help burn fat? Yeah, that will help if your diet and everything else are on point. Yeah, that will dramatically accelerate fat loss and body recomposition, but that much Trenbolone for most people could have side effects. If it's really legitimately real, most people are going to really struggle to deal with the side effects of that. They're going to be pretty intense. But again, just let me clarify for that for people asking, this is not a prescription drug that's ever prescribed for humans by doctors. So don't take the question too seriously. And I thought I would throw it in just because it was funny. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time. But let me give you guys a bicep shot before I go. Oh, Mount Bicepius.